Good evening, Michigan. We are back on Facebook again. YouTube instituted that ban against us, this time for our video with John and Rachel of Us Against Media. Apparently, they found misinformation in that video as well. But time marches on, and we will, as we always tell you guys, we'll be here to give you guys the information that you need on what's going on, who's running for you, what you guys need to be on the lookout for when it comes to mailers getting sent to you, people being at your front door. Tonight we have Donna Brandenburg with us. If you see her in your area, you definitely need to go and see what she's got to say. And we're going to be talking with her more tonight about some of the ideas that she has for Michigan and some of the things that are concerning her, even as we move towards more of a grassroots movement in our state, because we want you guys to be we want you guys to be the top priority. That is always the goal. And it's like I tell people, I don't ever move my scope for the people that truly stand for our Constitution, for our Bill of Rights, our Declaration of Independence. You move into the scope, that's your own fault. And we have some people in our state now that are starting to move into those parameters. And some of those people are past people that have presented problems, and some of them are newcomers to the swamp. And we'll be getting into discussing that a little bit tonight. But as I said, Miss Donna Brandenburg is joining us tonight. She is candidate for our 50th governor of Michigan. So, as custom, we're going to give her the floor a little bit and let you know. She's going to let you guys know some of her main concerns for our state and some of the things that she sees as important for us to focus on.
Hey, Ethan, it's nice to see you, and it's nice talking to everyone out there. Lots and lots going on right now, isn't there?
And more than we can possibly handle right now.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, we're watching at the Durham case. We're watching the what's happening on with Durham and the sealed indictments that are going on. There's a tremendous amount of motion there. But just in the state itself, it's this whole convention that we just went through, including the county conventions. There's some issues there that I feel like are a little bit concerning, including. I really feel like the rig for this election was already in, and I saw electioneering happening on Mackinac Island when I went up there in September. Not being a politician, I wanted to go up and see it for myself because I'm just a business owner that decided to step up and try to help, right? Well, when you have political parties picking winners and losers and elevating candidates, they're taking away the choice from the people and just giving them an illusion of choice. So I have several whistleblowers that I know who basically were told or given instructions on some very disturbing things. One 82-year-old was crying because she was told, if you don't vote with the party, you'll never vote again. And that's disturbing in and of itself, as well as coercion and intimidation of the precinct delegates. I know another person that the candidates were calling the precinct delegate to influence their vote, which I believe should be absolutely illegal. You shouldn't have candidates marketing to the precinct delegates. The precinct delegates should be representing their constituents, period, not being marketed to by a candidate or candidates, and they surely should not be being told who to vote for by people within the party. And that did in fact happen, and I have the evidence of it, and so do many other people. So it's a little disturbing. Our whole nation needs to truly return to government of the people, by the people, and for the people, and that has to start with people doing their own research, researching the candidates, and treating it like a job interview with the person who can actually accomplish what they want done and how they want their money managed and how they want their state to be run.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that because me myself, I'm not a precinct delegate. Various reasons, especially on the whole Republican aspect of it. I'm not very welcome at many Republican things, even as a conservative. But I have
Yeah.
numerous friends that um, have said that they knew that there was corruption and they knew that the swamp was deep, but they didn't realize until they even became a precinct delegate. I believe I talked about this on a previous episode not that long ago, and we're talking about the the very bottom end, as Donna said, 82-year-old women crying, people being frustrated and being told how to vote, and this is on the bottom end. This isn't going up into any sort of actual positions of power or influence or anything. This coercion and bullying and blackmailing is going on all the way down to a precinct delegate level, and
Yes.
and this
It's the
and people got to realize how deep this truly does go.
Yeah, it really does. When you have intimidation and people calling others and wanting to know why they're not voting for a specific candidate, or passing out papers that say this is the way we're voting, that you should vote, instead of the precinct delegates showing up and voting with their constituents because they talk to them and they know who they're representing, what their area really wants. It's kind of backwards, but I'm a little disturbed about the intimidation and the bullying that went on in this, because that is not a free and fair election right there. If people are having their votes coerced into different areas, we have a big problem. But there's a lot of problems in a lot of different areas, which are I'm having a great time coming up with solutions. I'm having a very fun and interesting time today. I went through some problems last week, and this weekend I was going through some of the problems with woke companies and how they're actually treating their workers. There's going to be a lot of information that's going to be coming out on the on also intimidation and threat with losing jobs if they don't step out in some of these woke companies. They're treating their workers absolutely terribly, and the unions don't seem to be representing the people that they're supposed to represent fairly, even if it is a union company. So that is completely disturbing. And we can go through insurance right now too, because our insurance companies are really underserving people. Where today I had a story that came to me. Somebody had a damaged roof. The insurance company put them off for about 4 to 5 months, wouldn't give them an answer on what they were going to cover, what they were going to do. So the person's got tarps over their house, and it rained, and so now they have more damage on the inside of their house to boot. And after all that, the insurance company came back to them and said, we had no intention of ever fixing your roof. So they strung them out for about 5 months. Because there's no accountability, that's a real problem.
Yeah, and that's where you come with this heavy mixture of that's and we're behind the eight ball. It's like we say all the time, we're behind the eight ball. This has been going on for decades. It's a mixture of money and money laundering and these false companies and these companies that are set up to do a specific task and they're not actually doing the specific task, kind of like the Federal Department of Education. But you know,
Yes.
and it's just like car insurance. It's like any of these companies that they don't want to pick up the heavy end of the bill, especially when it comes to medical companies. They don't want to pick up the heavy end of the bill. They want to sit back and they want to wait and see who's going to pay for what. So that at the end of the day, at the end of in this situation, at the end of the 4 or 5 months, if you've went around and you've got help from this group or this organization or had your buddies come over and do this, they don't care. At the end of the day, if their bill is $2,000 less that they have to shuck out, that's all that matters to them. They don't care about your situation. They don't care about what you're doing, and that goes right along with the political field. These people don't know what the average person goes through in a day. These people
And
these people don't even drive themselves to the places they go. Ron Weiser was the biggest joke to me on that Republican stage. The only reason that you are gonna hobble yourself up there and clap along right along with everybody else is because you know at the end of the day that you've gotten your puppet mission accomplished. You got yelled at by some of the biggest people of why you weren't because what you're running, the, you endorsed Christina Caramo and Matt DiPerno. You are running a facade. That is
You're
that is
talking.
that is nothing but a facade. You don't actually want them in. You and your cronies and your little puppet masters are playing the long con on the grassroots and the We the People movement. And you think at the end of the day that we're just going to forget about not us, not people like me, not people like Donna. We're not going to forget all the things that you've done and continue to do in our state.
Yeah,
So,
I'm not gonna. It's like somebody said a while back that they heard that I was on the Atlantic Council, and I'm like, that's absurd. But I do know Ron Weiser is, so that should be a concern to all of us, including. And I don't know if I told you this, but I'm a little bit of a researcher. Found out, of course, Whitmer is an ex-employee of Soros. They made a deal. The state made a deal to bring the World Economic Forum headquarters to Michigan in Detroit. So who's sitting on the top of that? That'd be Soros, Schwab, and Gates. And if you look at the young leadership group there, it's the who's who of deep state, who of wokeness in our government and such, and it's disturbing because our voices are being taken away. And I'm sure you saw the new truth minister, the minister of truth from the Biden administration, which was in response to Elon Musk taking over Twitter and restoring some balance or free speech to conservative viewpoints instead of just cutting them right out. So since Twitter got freed up a little bit, now we got to do something else. And what they're doing is they're going after they're going to try to go after it with a minister of truth, and the person that they appointed to that is I don't know, it's like kind of a nut job. I started looking into the pictures and her videos and such, and I'm not kidding you. On the shelf behind her, on the bookshelf from the pictures when she was doing like her professional video, which was an upgrade from her amateur videos, quite honestly, there's a book there called The Lolita. And I screenshotted it and I posted it. The book Lolita is about a middle-aged man who molests his 12-year-old stepdaughter. And I find that a little disturbing that someone who's supposed to be the minister of truth or whatever she claims that she is or they've appointed her to actually has it on the shelf behind her. And including there was a cup from the Wilson Center. And if you dig into the Wilson Center too, that's pretty well the donors on that. I downloaded the donor list because I wanted to see who's contributing to this. The Carlisle group is in it, which should be raising a few red flags. There's quite a few entities in there which people should start raising eyebrows and saying, okay, so these corporations are funding the Wilson Center. We've got a child molestation book on the shelf behind our minister of truth. Something's not adding up here.
and that's the thing is this is all bigger picture, and you you,
Bigger picture.
you gotta now. Jen Psaki is coming on and talking about how Biden's always cared about Section 240 and these platforms being the bearer of truth and all this other nonsense. And we've had Facebook out of control for how long? We've had Twitter out of control for how long? There, these platforms that not only will ban some of their most influential people on their platforms, millions of followers, and that's what people come to your platform for. Your business model is absolutely terrible. But once again, that's what happens with these companies. As soon as you dabble into politics and all this sphere of the geopolitical world, once you dabble in there, when you don't belong in there, you're just going to get destroyed because
Yeah.
and this has to be a nonpartisan issue. Do we really want what essentially boils down to thought police on either side of the spectrum? Now, there's things that fit in with Elon Musk and the young world leaders, and that's all for another episode. But
Yep.
the the
You want
the
to
it
it
won't
set up.
it
If you
won't
want to look at,
yeah,
I'm sorry.
the main thing with it is, like Elon was saying, to that his enemies ain't going nowhere from Twitter, as far as he's concerned, because that's what open discourse is about. That's what feedback and good, healthy debate and conversation back and forth is about. You can't just have one side of the situation. There has to be a back and forth.
Yeah, that's true. And we can look at it too on whether we categorize providers as publishers, where if they start doing any type of censorship, they should be categorized as publishers so that they're the ones that are responsible for the content that's on it. If you have an open forum, then it becomes not there's just a venue and people can actually have free thought, free thought and free ability to speak. So I think that categorization might really work really well as an answer to the censorship problem that we have, as well as when a company gets over so many dollars in value or so many impressions, then all of a sudden they become a social engineering hazard. And so when they get to be a certain size, then I think that we have to look at other options so that it doesn't become just another propaganda machine for an assault on our free speech. So I think that's kind of important. I really like the development of the citizen journalists. Like I was down at Threadfest, and that was an amazing experience, totally amazing. There was Brian Cates was there, and Patrick Gunnels, and Praying Medic, and Beer at the Parade, and Kate Awakening. A lot of people that would recognize these people. Matthew Trump, he was amazing. One of the greatest presentations on the development of mainstream media as a propaganda tool. And Brian Cates spoke eloquently, wonderfully about where we are right now is it's kind of like a new incarnation of what Andrew Breitbart had done with bringing the truth out in by smaller providers of content so that we have more choices. And I think that's going to be absolutely critical to moving this nation forward is a citizen journalist and people who are actually interested in digging for the truth, not just being a puppet. The same thing's happening within the government. We have a lot of puppets out there. We have very, very, very few people who are based on truth or want to get out of this target fixation mentality. That's another good thing to talk about is target fixation. I'm going to be writing a lot about that in the coming weeks.
Yeah, because a big part of this is we have to, people like me, and I know Donna as well, like she says, she's a digger. We've been in this and around this for years, for
Yeah,
years,
years and years. Yes.
for years. So at the same time that we have to wake people up, we also have to think about how because I'll just say it point blank, the world is a lie. The world is a stage. The people that move these companies and do this money and the way wars get influenced, if you don't know, then newsflash, it's all a big stage. So we
Yeah.
also have to work together as a people, and we truly mean this. We have to work together as a people to figure out when this is all over, when we do dismantle this, what are we going to do? What do we want this to look like? And that's one of the things that we have to be on the front line constantly advocating on is our freedom of speech, because if that goes away, we are done. We are done.
Right.
Our my children will not know, and for them to ask why didn't we speak up when they won't be able to. And speaking of speaking up, the comment section is always open, everybody. If you guys have any questions for me or Donna, now's your chance. That's one of the reasons why I like doing these episodes with candidates that we have out here right now. Is if you guys have any questions that you wouldn't be able to ask to a candidate at an event, or you might not like speaking in front of people, or whatever the case may be, tell people to come over. check out the lives. We're always trying to get people on here that we know are good people that are fighting for what we need in our future. Because if we don't have our basic rights, we're done. And
Right.
our freedom of speech is the first one that protects the rest. Because if you can't speak up and say what you want, then you can't defend anything else that you have. And
And
that's what we have to be out here for. And that's what this show's about. I don't know if after the show gets done, if it'll be taken down, canceled, ripped to pieces, whatever the case may be. But in the meantime, we're here right now. We're live with you guys, and we're getting you the information. And that is what's always most important to your neighbor, to your mom, to your sister, your brother, your cousin that's in prison right now. That's what's always the most important thing, is making sure that you guys have the correct information, that you know that even if you are a Republican, even if you identify as a Republican, some of the things that we're talking about tonight will at least let you know who's around you. It's okay to be a Republican. It's okay to be a Democrat. To me, there's a difference between a liberal and a Democrat. But know what you're actually standing with. So, for
yeah, I
you,
kind of a fan of lessening the political parties and going back to Americans, just being Americans again, like it was in 1776. We didn't have those political parties. We did have the Federalists, the papers, and with the Federalists and the state fight going on. However, so there was some division, but not like there is today. And I do believe that that division is by design rather than organic by the people, which is unfortunate because that's another bit of propaganda that's out there. Because I don't know about you, but I'm not seeing what they're telling us that we're like. I'm just not seeing it.
it's nothing but distractions. Black, white, brown, yellow, Republican,
Yeah,
Democrat, left, right. Because they're afraid, and they're afraid now more than ever because they know that we know more and more every day. The tool that one of the tools that they've used to, and that's another thing with the whole internet thing. Like, why are you getting all your information from the internet anyway? These thought police and misinformation police, go pick up a book. Why are you getting all of your information from the internet anyway? We shouldn't be discussing this about just the internet, but it's all by design. It's all used just like, why in the world, and I don't care what the excuses may be, why do we get every day of Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, but not one day of Ghislaine Maxwell? We know why. We know exactly why, because they want you asking the least amount of questions about those topics as humanly possible. And that's why we talk about them as much as
yeah.
humanly possible. I don't I seen one little coverage thing of Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. Do I like Johnny Depp as an actor? Yeah, Amber Heard sucks. All of her movies are terrible. But do I like Johnny Depp as an actor? Yeah, but do I care about you and your drunken celebrity fiance wife for your terrible marriage and your drunkenness for 5 days on news coverage every single day? No, but that's part of the mechanism. They want you focused on something like that as opposed to being focused on something that actually matters, kind of like me and Donna were just talking about before the show. Maybe the, you know, 20 food supply factories, chains, our whole food system falling apart. Maybe we can talk about that a little bit. I don't hear that being covered every single day on the news, which it should. It should be
Oh yeah.
concerning everybody.
And honestly, everybody should be planting gardens right now. I mean, it's so easy to feed yourself. We have a large garden, and I've got like 80 chickens out there right now. And I actually one of the reasons why I have so many chickens is I figured, well, at least I could help feed my family and some of my neighbors if things came down. And looked into actually creating my own supply line, and it's not that difficult to do. So we do have a lot of options out there, and I'd like to get into some hydroponics so that we can grow all year long and actually have our own food sources. I think that's really interesting to me. Also, foraging. I think foraging is kind of fun. I've done some of that. There's a lot of people out there that do know a lot about foraging and where to get vitamins and minerals and such. And I think that we are actually in very good shape, quite honestly, as long as we're willing to be proactive and maybe do a little bit of work. We might have to change and, not eat quite so many Pop Tarts or our junk food and such, but eating maybe even more healthy food that have vitamins and minerals from vegetables. I think that we'd be better off anyway. But it's odd that many food processing plants and sources have been, having fires and being destroyed for
Yeah,
sure.
and it for me it rolls right into because people like it the what I call the goldfish memory syndrome. Like people have forgotten about this, but there's still ships off the coast of the U.S. right now. There's still ships that are out there that remember how y'all couldn't get your stuff for Christmas and you were all upset and you were mad then? Yeah, those ships are still there. The only reason you're not mad and upset is because Christmas is done and gone, and your kids stopped crying and screaming about the new toy they didn't get. But those ships are
Yeah.
still there. Anybody ever stop to think our steel, our food, our farmland, BlackRock's buying up housing at an alarming rate, residential housing? They are privatizing our system right underneath of our own noses. They are make
Yeah.
they are making it so that we have super I won't say out loud the other part, but it's really close to they are making our options other than them very limited in how we can get things and how we're able to go about our daily functions of survival. At first it went from needs and wants, it went from microchips and cars to now we're getting into more serious matters. And
Well,
luckily for
that is a
no, I was just gonna say, luckily, Michigan, we do have a lot of farmland and fertility. I know a lot of places around our state though, what they call backyard chickens are banned. I have to go and pull 3 different permits for my stupid garden that I'm going to be doing uh, this spring. And we need to do away with a lot of that stuff too, because we all know why that's been implemented as well.
it's been implemented to make people dependent upon the system. So I have a few other theories on some of the stuff that's going on, like the container ships out in the ocean and such. I really think that what we're doing is we're shifting back to producing things in the United States. So when I was younger, we had a tremendous amount of mills, fiber mills and textile mills in the Carolinas and in different places around the United States. Those pretty much have all gone overseas, and right now China is the main producer or exporter of all of that. We're going to have to stop that import cycle and bring that all back to the United States. And I think that honestly, when I see the container ships sitting out there in the Pacific, I'm kind of actually a little encouraged because China does not get paid until those goods and services are delivered. So I'm kind of wondering if we're kind of breaking that cycle coming from China to give us the ability to actually produce goods and services, more of them in the United States. Because I think there's some big moves going on here
Well,
while we're transitioning. I'm okay with that.
sometimes it worries me too, especially this thing I just posted this morning on the Minds of Michigan Facebook page. It was a interview with the Financial Times and George Soros, and
I think
it was
the
what's that?
can you hear me? It says that it paused the stream.
Oh yeah, we're good.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it says they asked George Soros what sort of financial deal should Obama be seeking to strike when he travels to China next month, and he answered, I think this would be time because you really need to bring China into the creation of a new world order, a financial world order. They are kind of reluctant members of the IMF. They play along, but they don't make much of a contribution because it's not their institution. Their share is not to commemorate. Their voting rights are not to commemorate. Their weight. So I think you need a new world order that China has to be part of the process of creating it, and they have to buy in. And it goes on to say further, if you guys would like to go over to the page, and I have the whole article posted. Um, but a lot of sometimes for me, especially with that coinciding along with the value of our dollar decreasing, which sometimes for a healthy market, the fluctuation of our dollar is a good thing. But the type of inflation that we're seeing right now and the causes and the reasons of that inflation is something that we've never dealt with before. We never dealt with, when we had the last time we had a problem like this, I can think of back in the 70s. We didn't deal with as much in the way of, like you were saying, a lot of our stuff, even there, it was the tail end, but a lot of our stuff was still made here. And
Hmm.
so for me, the question comes with, even if our supply lines stay here and we're able to eliminate China, will the value of our dollar with because in the grand scheme of things, not a lot of people know this, and some people do. The United States does not export a whole lot compared to what we import as far as financially. That's why so many other countries, and namely China, have a good portion of our money and a lot of times more of our money than we do. Is
Trade.
because right is because of these markets. And so at that point, then what happens? You know what I mean? Because if America can come back in with a vengeance, then we're good. But if China keeps winning the way that they win right now, and we try to come in as an economic anything, do we actually succeed in the current boat that we're in?
Well, I think the opportunities are quite large. 'Cause the monetary system across the globe is completely changing, and I think that's a really good thing because if we decentralize everything, we decentralize the banks, we need to decentralize insurance, we need to decentralize the hospital systems and such. And I think we're really seeing that across the globe right now, a very large amount of decentralization, but it's a little painful to watch. And until you really dig into what's happening with the other currencies, you really don't see quite what's going on. And I think we're going to come back and it's going to be very, very strong. But sometimes you got to tear the old structures down in order to build the new ones. And I do think that that's kind of happening to a certain degree.
Yeah, I do agree in the fact that we became a lot more. It may not seem like it from what they tell you and what they push, but we've become a lot more united as a people.
Oh, yeah.
You look around the world, and it's happening more and more every day. Don't let them tell you that it's not. Don't let them tell you that you're the one that's wrong in all this because big things are coming. Big changes
I
are coming for our nation, our state. With Donna sitting right here with us, big changes are coming for everything. And we're going to try to make sure that you guys are a part of it all the way up because you guys deserve to know what's actually going on. I was talking with somebody just yesterday that I was talking about, yeah, how about these food processing plants burning down? They had no idea what I was even talking about. They had no clue what I was even talking about. But these are the things that are these things aren't political. These things are no longer political for anybody. These are things that affect every one of us every single day. And we need as many people's help in this fight as humanly possible.
I think the secret to this is we have to get away from these big multinational corporations that own everything and go back to small business with actual ownership by the people that are running the businesses. That the small business has always been the backbone of this nation until every small business has been in the process of being gobbled up by these big corporations, and we really need to reverse that and decentralize again, because when there's that much power, say in BlackRock, Vanguard, Arabella, not only can they force, they can shut the supply lines down just within a blink of an eye if they don't see things going in their direction. It also gives them a tremendous amount of influence over our politicians. So that gets us into the black or the dark money funds and such, and how they actually fund and funnel funds to politicians who create the policies which really go in their favor. So that's a lot of what's behind also a lot of the motion. It's kind of a big group of a whole group of them which is working against we the people who should be who should be sitting on top and directing the way our government works in our society, how we want our society run. But right now, quite honestly, the corporations have way too much power. And this is another thing that I find really interesting. When you have all these woke corporations, their first responsibility is a fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders, right? Well, as soon as these companies go woke, it seems like it's really had an adverse effect on their profits. I don't know why the shareholders aren't suing these companies for the policies which really undermine their ownership in them. It's a question that needs to be asked, because that's the logical conclusion to this is we need to see some lawsuits to these woke corporations, because they're absolutely pushing an agenda. Someone I also know in a woke corporation said that they did a book drive and they wouldn't accept any books unless it was an LGBT book, which I find is a little disturbing because that is one type of book that's out there. However, what happens to the books that have something to do with being financially responsible, how you can have a job in these different sectors, how you can create a future for yourself and take care of yourself and your family, ways to serve, civics and economics, the things that really improve people's life? That's not happening. So it seems to me like all of these woke and socialist agendas really are stripping away the future from our children, from those we love, our friends, and from society. So it's quite evident that it's a subversive activity. And you can go back and look at the Marxists, the principles of Marxism, and it's all about breaking down society and really creating a disempowered class of people who really are more dependent on them, because once they're dependent, they can make everybody afraid. And once people are afraid, they're very easy to manipulate.
Exactly. All they want is a society of victims. They are totally
Yeah.
okay with you going and crying in your safe space because that means that in some way, shape, or form, they have to protect you from something. Some of the worst words that you can possibly hear. I'm the government and I'm here to help you.
Right.
That is some of the scariest thing. I will take my freedoms over your security any day of the week. And
Or
that's what we need is we need strong people that don't need to, and in some situations, in some circumstances, people are comfortably asleep. But it's a lot easier for the wolves to find the flock if you are asleep. And we do not run with sheep. We don't, at the very least anymore in our society, you have to acknowledge the thing. If you're okay with it, then, all right, say you're okay with humanity being destroyed. Okay, I respect you a lot more for that. But at least acknowledge that it exists. At
yeah,
least acknowledge it.
the schools and healthcare needs to be more localized rather than in these big the big monopolies. they are top down dictating policy. Well, I think that parents should have the rights, all the rights, to take care of their children the way they see fit. They are not the property of the government in any way, shape, or form. That needs to end, and that needs to end very quickly. That attitude, and the you hear so many kids that are being victimized in the schools by caregivers, by CPS, by people that claim that they care about their kids. How many arrests have there been for child molestation? Well, if somebody's a pedophile or somebody who victimizes children, where are they going to go? Where they can find children? If there's no one there to protect them, like a parent. And I'm not saying that there aren't some parents that are involved in it, but we need to stop believing that all of these oversight organizations are for our best good, because a lot of times they are. Look at what happened with the vaccinations and the masks. There's not one person on this planet that could convince me that any of this was anything more than an attack on our citizens or our people of Michigan. It was attack on it. It was economic warfare for sure, because if they really cared about protecting people, why did they shuffle them through one door in the big box stores? And how many billionaires were made during this time while small businesses were destroyed, families and individuals were destroyed? You can really see the dividing line there between the elites, the globalists, and the people, the people that should be truly in charge. That's how it was intended to be. Very disturbing.
Yeah, we were. You can tell by the ones that kept their wits about them and that actually used common sense throughout this whole thing.
We
You still see it. And
Yeah.
we will deal with the ramifications of this for uh, untold amounts of times. The toll on our bodies alone. I mean, I know I've been sick consistently for I don't even know how long, and it's because we were shut inside, we were shut up. They're still trying to shut us inside and shut us up. China is their perfect model for that situation. Have you seen those videos? Have you seen those
I
videos?
I'm so busy trying to put the state back together and coming up with solutions that I really think that we're going to be able to turn it with very, very strong leadership. I think we can turn the state around very quickly. I would like to see, say, ivermectin and hydrochloroquine. There's no reason why that can't be available over the counter. There was a Nobel, ivermectin, the creators got a Nobel Prize for that, and it's been in use for 65 years. So shutting that down and shutting down some of the other modalities that reduce inflammation, and they're both a viral and a parasitic answer, that needs to come back. And I think if we do this very quickly, it really there's some quick things we can do. I think that we need to have job performance reviews for every single person that is working for the state. I don't know why we don't have that. There needs to be metrics to change that. And we can change things very, very quickly. I think we need to go back to the Constitution and the deprivation of rights under the color of law. That's a big one, because anything that takes away someone's rights having to do with rights guaranteed by the Constitution is in immediate and clear violation of any rights that a person has, and you can quickly categorize that as a criminal intent to as an assault, and it goes back to treason.
Yeah,
So
I've been dealing with that a lot directly lately. Section 1983, U.S. Code 42, the right to prosecute any elected official for violation of color rights acting under color of law, and that gets buried. And like you said, not a lot of people need to even know in the first place, because a lot of people have the big misconception that you can't hold your elected officials accountable other than voting them out. Yes, you can.
yes, you can.
Yes,
And
you
if
can.
if we start employing grand juries and putting the grand juries in between the accused and the accuser, instead of going back to case law and statutory law, let them stand in front of a peer of their body of their peers, and let it stand on the information and the evidence of what happened, not based on the laws that came beforehand, and try to get it back maybe to more of a common law uh, policy or procedure than what we have right now, which is the bar. The bar is the British Accreditation Register. So I'm kind of a fan of getting away from that and just purely sitting in front of a jury of your peers based on the evidence, so that an attorney can't go back to some obscure case law and say, well, this is the precedence that was set back here, and tie these things up in court for years and years and years, trying to jumble things up by activist attorneys and activist judges in order to change society, instead of stick to the facts. If this person stole, there's enough evidence on it. Why are we spending years and years trying to convolute this and draw it out so that the only people that actually make money are the attorneys, and they clog our justice system up, and then it goes downhill from there. Our jails are full of people that are in need of mental health. They destroyed that by closing all of the mental health facilities. That's actually an easy one to fix too. So there are some facilities around the state which were closed that I think could ramp up fairly quickly to service our population that is in need of mental health.
Yeah,
That'll
it's all about
easy
that
one.
bottom dollar. It's all about that
Yeah.
bottom dollar, and we see it way too much, and that's where all the corruption comes from. At the end of the day, is people are greedy, and that's just the fact of life. But we,
Politicians the politicians are greedy and corrupt. I really think that the people that I've met across the state, and I've met a lot of people, I'm all over the place. I mean, we talked about that before I got on. The people of the United States, the people of Michigan are generous, they're wonderful, and they know what's wrong. They're smart, they know what's going on. And I think that everybody just really wants to see this fixed and turned around so that we do have a future. And I think people are willing to give and make that sacrifice that we've seen from people, from the brave people in our military that took an oath that lasts for life to actually serve. It's going to take us all to have that service mindset, the servant's mindset of, what can I do to help you? Where are you struggling? What problems are you encountering? How do you see your future being eaten away? How do you think we should fix this? And just listen, because the answers are out there, and it's a matter of us just putting our heads together and taking your expertise and my expertise and everybody else that's out there, and taking what's best from all of us to make the policies to make the state financially responsible and to create sustainability for this state. I really believe that we should think about doing some of the things that were done in the 50s, 40s, and 50s with the Civilian Conservation Corps. My grandpa worked in that. They planted trees, and they planted a lot of them. Well, that could beef up our lumber industry. I don't see why we're not doing more to stock fish and improving the wildlife in the state. Made no sense to me whatsoever when we had an overabundance of moose in our UP. So what did they do? The state dropped wolves in order to eat the moose. Well, then we went from that to having a problem with too many wolves up there, so they had to hire people to go kill the wolves. We could have bypassed this whole nonsense and turned the hunters loose on it and been able to take the moose in and use it for food, and we wouldn't have had the wolf problem, and we wouldn't have had to hire more people. So it was kind of a goat rodeo on increasing the government. That's something I see a lot, is the justification for having to add departments on top of departments on top of departments in order to not only ensure the sustainability of how large the government is, but to increase it. It's absurd. Our healthcare industry is the same way. When you can't be a doctor and practice with your patients, in the best interest of your patients, and you have to hire a staff to manage the insurance codes and how to get around the insurance in general, we have a big problem. This is absolutely dictating. Not only is it dictating care, but it's exponentially increasing the costs that we have in healthcare just to prove and to comply with the codes with the insurance companies who are really, they're just trying to get out of pain and taking care of people. And you can watch who owns them. Most of them are owned by large multinational corporations. So once again, it's an attack and assault on the people, we the people of the United States and Michigan. We need to turn that around so that everyone can have good, affordable health care. And I'm not talking about the Affordable Health Care Act, because that was another goat rodeo, very poorly planned out. It was very, very poorly planned out. You can even look at the way the website was built and the abysmal failure that the website was, and how many people lost care because they didn't have a comprehensive plan to actually address any of this. I really think that we could attack this a little bit better by cutting the regulations, so that we could maybe have doctors and GPs in every town like it used to be. You used to be able to call up the doctor and go see the doctor without all of this absurd and ridiculous malpractice insurance that they have to carry, and also the absurd amount of insurance it takes to cover the patient's needs. And I have seen some models that seem to be really encouraging on how to open up smaller clinics in all cities, which would benefit the doctors, it would benefit the patients. And what it does cut out is it cuts out the red tape and the regulation of the insurance companies, which are really just grifting off the top of everyone.
Well, it's like you said, it comes all back to that centralization. They want everybody to have. It's like DHS offices. Even
What
you
opposite?
the DHS, or well, no, sorry, it's DHHS offices. They changed the name of them in Michigan. Like even those offices now that are actually set up to help people in times of need. My mother, before she passed away, was going through it with getting help with getting her propane filled, and there was three different departments that are all being answered by an automated service that you end up getting sent to one person in the end of the situation anyway. And that's a department that's supposed to be set up to help people in the first place that have already been through the rigmarole, that have already been through everything else and are at the end of their rope and trying to do everything humanly possible. That's not education. That's not healthcare. That's not automotive. That's not any of these industries that are supposed to be set up for daily functions that are being handled, like Donna said, the same exact way. That's why you get transferred to 15 different departments when you want to try to figure out one thing that's going on with your property taxes. That's why they pass you along and pass you along. And every one of those people that picks up a phone, they all get a paycheck. At the end of the day, it's not the acts themselves that are causing so much money or causing the system to be crippled. It's once again, like Donna was saying, it's all these people that they want to put into these unnecessary spots, and they want to deem these unnecessary committees and appoint these people. And every one of those people have a paycheck. Every one of those people runs an office, all the documents, all the paperwork, all these overhead costs. Just like with the Federal Department of Education, I talk about them so much because I absolutely hate it. It's so unnecessary. It's totally uncalled for. That's why we have part of the reason why we have such a mess in our public school system is because of that federal department, and it's just unnecessary. There's so much easier ways to do this, especially even when it comes to uh, feeding yourself. Anybody seen the price of a deer license this past year? Something to
No.
actually just go out and feed yourself. $52. $52 to ask the government for permission to go out and feed your family. It's absolute insanity. They want their hands in that cookie jar more and more and more and more. And we, the people, are stepping up more and more every day to stand in their way and show them that we're not as dumb as they think we are. we know what's going on. We're wise to what they're trying to do to our world. And we always want to take you guys along for the ride with us and keep you guys informed and let you know who's going to stand with us. And you'll be able to see and judge for yourself along the way, too, the more you open your mind to these things. And we're coming up here on the top of the hour, and it has been a fantastic episode. I loved having Donna back on. Make sure you guys go over to her website. What's your website, Donna?
BrandonBurgForGovernor.com, and it's spelled BrandonBurg for Governor.com. I do write every single word on Telegram. I do all my own research and my own writing. My Telegram page is at Brandenburg, the number 4MI, and I'm on a bunch of different social media. You can find that all on the website. I just did my first TikTok video today. I was pretty excited about that because I'm still trying to get that figured out, but I thought I would try TikTok. I tried my hand at TikTok and see how that would go. And I'm gonna do my first live streaming tonight. So I think in the morning I've been getting on my Telegram channel, and I do a little bit of a let's talk and take in for I talk back and forth with people as they're posting. I've been doing it for about an hour in the morning the last few days, and it's worked out very, very well. I've been posting my schedule on where I'm going to be talking. I have a UP tour coming up, as well as a tour by Traverse City, and quite a few events. I have been all over the state. I just haven't been really good at posting them. And now that we're past the signatures, and I am on the ballot, I have time to do that, do some follow up on all of those other tasks.
Yeah, we will be trying to keep you guys as up to date as humanly possible. We're trying to get these wonderful candidates on, the ones, like I said, that are fighting for you. I know Donna has been working very hard. She has been, I was just talking to her about it. I've seen her on, I don't even know how many different shows and doing interviews and radio spots in these last couple weeks. She has been just getting all over the place. So make sure you guys get over to her TikTok. TikTok, you said this morning? Yeah, make sure you guys get over there and join her on some of those morning talks and get to know her a little bit better. As far as our end, our Getter account that you can see up here, that is becoming our fastest growing platform that we're on. We've only been on there a little over 2 months, and we're coming up on 1,500 followers on there. That's what happens when you don't have the censorship of all these other platforms. So
That's
if you guys want to, make sure you check us out over there, as well as our locals account, our Gab account. We're everywhere. We're just like Donna over here. We're everywhere. We want to make sure we're getting to you guys on a regular basis.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I'm on Telegram every morning, and then the TikTok. I like to my TikTok account is at Donna Brandenburg. So I'd like to hear what people want to hear about, because I do so much research on topics that are actually relevant. I don't stick with the headlines, because that's kind of a target fixation thing. You have to be able to pick up as the world changes every day and new issues come up and new information. You have to be able to change with that, as far as not change your stances, because of course stances all stay the same, but you have to be able to react to the world in crisis, and or when things change, to be able to react to that. And I think I spend a lot of time doing that, staying informed, so that we do know how to create these solutions, and as a service to God, family, and country. And I feel very strongly about that.
Absolutely, because you know when we're out here and we're fighting the good fight and we're fighting against these truly evil things in this world, because don't kid yourself, there are truly evil things that go on in this world every single day, and these people want to remain in power, and it's up to us to make sure that these people do not remain in power. Because if they remain in power, we're not going to have we'll have a world, but we're not going to have a well world to give to our future generations. and it's
Yeah.
time to it's time for the whole world to buckle down, and we know right from wrong. We don't need to know left from right. It's like we were talking about with the division earlier. We don't need to know left from right. We don't need to know white and black. We just need to know morality. And we've come a long way and gotten very, very misguided. I just heard this today. I had to be reminded of it. WAP, that song WAP. At the moment that we can have a song like that blaring over our speakers worldwide, just I don't even know.
I'm not
It's
familiar with the
thing.
song, so I'm out of the loop in this one.
It,
But it
yeah,
is time.
it's an acronym. We'll just leave it at that. WAP. It's an acronym, and it is just absolutely atrocious. And it all started with Gone with the Wind, with Clark Gable getting that $10,000 to say that one line, and it's all been my grandpa used to talk about that in the 1930s that there was women that fainted in the movie theater, physically fainted when Clark Gable said, "Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn." There was actually women that fainted in the movie theaters back then. Could you imagine what they would do now with
The world has changed.
it, and but there is lines. There are, and there's a difference between living these things as a reality and knowing, what is supposed to be dealt with on a moral level, like our children and like their upbringing and having the nuclear family, and just these basic important things that we have to hold on to. We have to hold on to the survival of humanity. We're losing our humanity. That's
Well,
a
I
that's a big
I
part of this.
I believe that we're winning really because so many of us now are aware of things, and now all we have to do is everybody's just got to get in that fight and reach down inside ourselves and find that bravery not to comply and to think for ourselves and to fight for this nation. They tried to kill the American spirit, and all that they did was they kindled it and made us stronger and more united. That is a huge win right there. Now we need a little bit of leadership and some good solutions to go forward. And I do believe that we'll have a stronger and a better America than we've had in many, many years, because nothing that's going on right now is new. This has been going on for a long time. We just didn't know it until recently. And that knowledge and information going forward gives us the ability to fight it instead of living in the dark. So dark to light, we're learning, and we've learned, and we're ready, and now we're ready for this fight as a united group of people going forward to make a better world and a better future for all of us. I completely believe that we've got a good handle on this, that the old guard is being changed out, and we have a stellar, spectacular future ahead of us where we get to make the decisions and they're not being made by these global elites, because that their time has come to the end because we've woken up, and that's what they've always feared, that we would know what they're doing and say, yeah, you know what, we're kind of done with that now, so y'all are your time is done, so move aside. It's time for patriots to take over and restore this nation to the way that it's supposed to be, as a constitutional republic with liberty and justice for all.
It is a beautiful time to be alive, isn't it?
It
The
is. I would admit it of this. I think
I
this is the
it
greatest.
is, and I guess it does take a while. And I've seen a thing today, and the last thing I'll give you guys for the night is, it's kind of like I was saying earlier. Some people are comfortably numb, but if you're one of those people that aren't, we could always use you. We could always use more people to be in the fight for humanity as a whole. And there's always room, and we do. And Donna always with the silver lining. It is a beautiful time to be alive. We are winning. It
We are
we
big.
we we have to fight against the disheartenment and sometimes and know and understand that this world does belong to the people. It's not just our country. It is not just our country. It's not just our state, our country, the top and bottom, Canada and Mexico. It is the entire world. This is
We have
a world thing.
we have God's favor on us right now, and I believe that we are definitely winning, and that some of this nonsense is coming to the end, and it's coming to the end quick because we've got moms and dads and uncles and aunts and grandpas and grandmas and friends that are stepping up and saying, you know what, I'm done with this, and that they can't fight that. There's way too many of us that are going to be dictating the policies of the way we want it, not just being shoved, having it shoved down our throats. We're going to be able to determine our future once we clean the old guard out. And their little dictatorship that they've had going on, this tyrannical dictatorship, is coming to the end because we're not going to comply. We're done with this. They don't get to tell us what to do. Even the taxation without representation, that time is coming to the end. We have to stand up and say, no, your little game is done. You don't get to siphon this off into your pet projects. We want it. We want a full accounting. And Donna Brandenburg as governor, I'm going to tell you what, we're going to publish the entirety of the accounting for the state, and that includes departments. Because I want that. I want that right out there to see all the dirty deeds that's been out there where they've been putting in slush funds or trying to cover up for sexual harassment, because there is a fund for that where if somebody gets charged for that, they pay them off. And I think everybody needs to see exactly what's been done. We'll have our CPAs that are out there, accountants, and people who are good at interpreting data to look at this and find all the anomalies in what they've actually done. Because if there's a whole bunch of us looking at it, I'm pretty extra sure that nothing's going to fall through the cracks. And then the accountability starts, and I'm going to start firing from day one. And I'm not going to stop until we get to the bottom of corruption. It's going to be a little shocking to people because I'm not putting up with this anymore. And I don't think any of us should. I think we should stand up there. And this is the future of our state, our country, and our families, our schools, our way of life, everything that we hold dear as one nation under God, indivisible. And it's going to just take all of us to stand up and pull up our boots and say, you know what, we're doing this, and we're going to do this together as a group of patriot friends. And I think it's going to be an amazing time to be alive. And right now, I wouldn't miss a minute of this. I think it's phenomenal.
And it is so exciting to hear. I tell you what, it makes me want to go out and have a rally right now just by listening to Donna speak.
Let's do this. We can take this back. I mean, there's been a lot harder times in the past that we've gone through as a country. This is a hard time, I'll give you that. But you know what? We're patriots. We're mutts. We are the mutts of the world. And the mutts are the toughest one that you'll ever come across. So this isn't time to lay down or feel sorry for ourselves. It's time to get up and say, come on, I'll lead the charge, you'll lead the charge, and we're going to walk forward, and we're going to win, and we're going to win bigly for this nation to preserve everything that we love. And it's worth it. You're worth it. All of you out there that are listening are worth it, and we are not going to stop fighting. I promise you, I will fight with my last breath for this, because this is worth it. This is the hill to die on right here. And we're going to do exactly that. We're not taking any more of their crap. They are not telling us what to do anymore. It's going to be, their time is done. That's all I can say, is that their time in power to victimize this nation and tear it down has come to the end.
And do not be fooled. They will fight tooth and nail till the end to make you
Good
feel
luck.
like you are the minority.
Yeah.
Trust us, you are not the minority. If
Yep.
you are hearing this, you are not the minority. More and more of us are with you every single day. But
We are the majority, and the biggest thing they feared was us waking up, and the game is over. We know their game. Now it's just cleaning up the trash. It's like cleaning a stall in the barn here. That's the easy part, and it's just time to take the trash out and start rebuilding over without all of their burden, their little dictator tyrannical burden that they've had on us for years. Once we remove that, we'll have all kinds of money to run the state. It's just a matter of getting a handle on it and how we're going to get a handle on it, how we're going to cut things down so that they can't get their hands in the cookie jars and siphon it off to their little pet projects or pay off their friends, because that's going on all over the place. Putting a stop to the dark money funds and getting a handle on how they are actually manipulating the system in order to profit off of this nation. It's disgusting. It's criminal. It's disgusting. And every single one of them that's participated in any of this should be tried for treason without mercy. You there, Ethan?
Yep. I had my I haven't done that in a while. Had the mute button on there. Yeah, and we're gonna be here to investigate every single thing that they do and bring to light every single thing they do, single thing. Sorry, I had a bite a moment. Every single thing that they do, and make sure that these people are held accountable all the way to the end. So,
Oh,
and like Donna said, it's not gonna stop. They can't stop what's coming. They can't
yep.
stop it.
Yep. It's over.
But I
So well,
thank
this.
you guys for being here with us for the night. And like I said, make sure you guys go over and join Donna sometime over on her TikTok or over on her Telegram. I know that she is constantly, man, it is, it, if I had to pick a governor candidate that I see the most out of, I see at the most places and doing the most things, be this one. Be this one right here. We do have a few people that are speaking out against the establishment, but we have a few more lines to run through with them, and we're hoping to help you guys narrow down your field when it comes to you guys going to vote in 2022 for Michigan's next governor, because this, like Donna said, is going to be super, super important for you guys to know who these candidates are, what they stand for, what they want to do for you. That's why I said these comment sections, make sure you guys fill these up. Donna will be back too. Make sure you
Okay.
guys fill up these comment sections. If you guys want to know something, don't be afraid to put it in there and ask. That is exactly what we want to set these up for you guys.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna have to go for the night, but it's been wonderful being here, and I look forward to the next time that I get to talk to you and all of our buddies out there that are listening tonight, all our Patriot friends.
Absolutely. You guys, it's like I tell you out there, make sure you stay safe and you stay informed.